5 10 15 20 از ما بهتر هیچ کس نیست. من تلفیق 5 10 15 20 از ما بهتر هیچ کس نیست. And all those friends in Sydney who have welcomed me so. This is unbelievable for me because I really don't think, and it makes me feel guilty, and I think that I should have worked harder. اندر مشکلات آموختن زبان فارسی اعتماد السلطنه وزیر ناصرالدین شاه در دفتر خاطراتش می نویسد روزی با اعلیحضرت در کاخ مرمر قدم می زدیم. سرکار اعلیحضرت به من گفتند اعتماد السلطنه تو هم معلم بدی هستی. عرض کردم چرا قربان؟ فرمودم من چند سال است پیش تو فرانسه میخوانم و هنوز چیزی یاد نگرفتم. عرض کردم قربان شما خیال میکنید فرانسه یاد گرفتن به آسانی مملکت داری؟ And English اعتماد السلطنه literature and publication minister under Nasruddin Shah writes in his memoir. One day we were taking a walk with His Majesty in garden of the Marmar Palace. His Majesty said to me, "You are a bad teacher, E'timad al-Sultaneh." "How so?" I asked. His Majesty said, "Because I have been studying French with you for years, but I haven't learned anything." I replied, "Your Majesty, you think learning French is as easy as running a country?" Sometimes people do not appreciate the hardship of teaching a language. It's an art and it's a science.
Very much for coming. At first, I would like to thank the center, in particular the head of center, Professor Ami Saikan, and the deputy of center, Professor Skaturi, and of course the foundation, Iranian Cultural Foundation, and the Imam for making this event possible.
Thank you very much, Dr. Rabi. Thank you, Professor Secretary, for being here. I would like to welcome again Mrs. Baghchehban, who has honored us to accept our invitation to make the long trip coming from Santa Cruz, California to Australia for a cultural tour. We had a big ceremony of commemoration of the whole Baghchehban family in Sydney. As you know, it's almost 1 century that this family have been serving Iranian both in cultural and social ways, and also, as Dr. Turabi mentioned, has continued to broaden those services to overseas. Mrs. Baghchehban is still active in the United States, teaching both Iranian who are learning Persian language and also non-Iranian who wish to learn Persian language.
And welcome to all of you for coming. It is a great honor for me to be here in the center among you. And I want to welcome one of the servants of the Persian language and of the Iranian deaf and mute community, not only within Iran, but also overseas and abroad. This is Mrs. Samineh Baghchehban, who most Iranian in this gathering will be familiar with through primary school books, the lesson about Jabbar Basgchehban that we never forget it. And through her father, the esteemed Jabbar Basgchehban. Miss Samineh Baghchehban was born in 1927 in Tabriz. Is it right? In Tabriz? In Tabriz. And has devoted her life to preserving the memory of her father and followed in his footsteps in her life. And like that man, has rendered valuable and honorable services. It must be a full of 60 years which have been devoted to a life of learning and the teaching of the Persian language to deaf and mute people. A moment should be taken to thank again the center and Dr. Eminent, Professor Piscatori and Professor Amin Sarkar. And in this event, which will be held up to 2 o'clock, first I will ask Dr. Eminent to give an explanation about whatever he likes. And then my distinguished student, Jesse, will come and recite a very nice poem of Hafiz. After reciting the poem of Hafiz, I will ask Mrs. Baghchehban to come and take place her speech. Please, Dr. Eminent, welcome you to the
I will be very brief, as Dr. Turabi mentioned. Just go to some highlight of the founder of the family of Baghchehban. Jabbar Baghchehban is the father of Persian Sign Language and founder of the first kindergarten for the deaf in Tabriz, East Azerbaijan province. In the sensitive language of the Persian, Bagh means garden, Baghchehban is garden. The wise Persian gentleman who chose this name was born Jabbar Askarzadeh. But when he founded Iran's first kindergarten, he said, if there must be a name for one who teaches little children, let me be called Baghchehban. For these children are all my flowers, and I will help them to grow. For the rest of his life, he was Baghchehban to the children he taught, the parents who invested their faith in him, and the teachers who came from all parts of the country to learn from him. To be honest, I have prepared a much longer speech, but I prefer to give the time more to Mrs. Baghchehban to benefit from her experience. So I only may just refer to one of the paragraphs of my note, just to put you in the context of Iran of 1925, when Jabbar Baghchehban founded the first kindergarten in Iran. It is hard to equate the Iran of 20s with the rest of the world. Europe is resembling the shattered pieces of life after the shock of the First World War. The starting emancipation of women in France, England, and the United States. In Iran, the women clung to their chadors, the full-length wears that hung to their ankles, revealing only the eyes. Women and children occupied a strictly guarded place in a static society, and the men were king of their small domains. Cities were only villages on a large scale. Poverty and illiteracy were prevalent. There were not only the poor and the rich. The average Tabrizi knew little or nothing of what went on in the West, and he moved along his circumscribed path without a thought to the burgeoning development, intensive industrialization, education for the masses, rapid social change that swept like wildfire through that other world outside. He always had new ideas. Soon he wanted to start a co-educational school for older children. He wanted a school in which self-expression rather than suppression would be the rule. In the existing system, the teacher taught. The child sat silent and tried to remember what he was taught. Baghchehban believed that the role of the teacher was not to teach, but rather to introduce a method or an idea, to act as the catalyst that would stimulate children's mind. The best talent is often wasted in schools, he thought, because the child with an active mind cannot concentrate for long within a rigid classroom system. His school was to be called Khodamuz or self-tutor, because in this school the child would really learn to educate himself. There are so many information that can be offered to you, but as I said, I prefer not to take too much of time today. If somebody is interested, I would be happy to provide much more information on our website or personal. Thank you very much. You are
Once again, Dr. Kinan, and now is the time for Jesse to recite the poem of Hafiz. This is for just concentration. You can concentrate with listening to the Hafiz poem for the Mrs. Baghchehban's speech.
ساقی حدیث سرو و گل و لاله می رود وین بحث با سلاسه قصاله می رود میده که نو عروس چمن حد حسن یافت کار این زمان ز صنعت دلاله می رود شکر شکن شوند همه توتیان هندو زین قند پارسی که به بنگاله می رود طی مکان ببین زمان در سلوک شعر که این طفل یک شبه ره 100 ساله می رود آن چشم جادوانه عابد فرید بین کشکار بان سر ز دنباله می رود از ره مرو به عشوه دنیا که این عجوز مکاره می نشیند و محتاله می رود باد بهار می وزد از گل ستان شاخ و از ژاله باده در قدح لاله می رود حافظ ز شوق مجلس سلطان غیاث الدین غافل مشو که کار تو از ناله می رود.
Thank you. I can confess that you recited the poem of Hafiz much more better than most of Iranians. And for next time, we hope you will have an explanation and interpretation of this ghazal for the Iranian who like Hafiz. This is time for Mrs. Samineh Baghchehban to take place her speech, and we are listening to her.